Hey Danon, today we
What's
have
going on, Bruno?
PTO tracker template. What is PTO? What does it mean?
PTO is paid time off. So, for example, if somebody, some companies, right, will offer paid time off every so often, and to track it sometimes becomes a bear. It becomes difficult to do. And if somebody is paid for this time off and you have lots of things going on, it's a good idea to get your team to know when you're getting off, when other people are getting off, and then kind of having an approval system for it would be good, right? So that way somebody can request a certain time off, and then if it's a problem, then they can go back and forth or approve it, and then there's also insight to the rest of the team, so they'll kind of get a concept of when their teammates are out. And so in this case, we built a template around it.
Cool. And I will share your screen so you can show people how it works well. Okay, yeah.
That's what I'm talking about. So here is the pay time off dashboard, the PTO dashboard inside of this app. This can be found at gesture.com under the templates page. And in this case, we have it installed in an account, and then we went to a different account, and this one's a little bit messy. And so before maybe diving into this, first we could maybe look at how we would organize, and every person might like it a little bit differently. So we leave you that capacity. So in this case, if you can get to the dashboard, ideally, usually another reason though that I tell people to start from an app/dashboard. In this case, let's see, where is this one? Should be in here somewhere. PTO dashboard here, again signified by the four square symbol here, or the dual colons. Is there another name for that you use there, Bruno?
I don't know, two dots.
The the two dots twice. But anyway, so when you're in here, I like to have it to where you make sure all of the tables you're kind of using are linked at least back from here to them, the ones that are kind of going with this module, if you will. So in this account, you can see there's a lot going on here. And in this case, if I can get to this dashboard, then I should be able to get to other places. So for example, here's the approvals that need to be done that are pending. But if I want to just open to the record or the table, then I can right here as well. So this is in the outage table. Okay, so we have outage and we have the PTO dashboard. And then down here, we also have this, it's the same table. And sometimes, let's see, here's our dates and things. In this case, we would have a table that would be for the employees, but I know that this table, or the employee table, is being used by this one. So let's just edit this app, and so we can get a name maybe of that table. So it's called employee. I'm sorry, wait, okay, it's actually outage. So inside of that table is going to be, that's interesting. So let's open this one in a new tab. So we're opening it right here. And then there's the employees in it, which is the connected record. And then to get to that, we can go into this record view. Let's open that one in another tab if it will let us. Let's duplicate this tab and go back on this one. That way we can get all of our tables together. Let's exile that for now. And in this case, we have the employees table. So these three tables, let's go put them in a section. So we'll put it all together. So let's do a create section. This is going to be PTO tracker. Great. And then this should end up right here. And then underneath this, we need some tables and some apps. So we need the PTO tracker. I'm sorry, the PTO dashboard in the PTO tracker here. Nice. And then we need the two tables, so employees and outage. So let's go find outage right here, stick it under here. And employees. Okay, I got a touchpad here, so it's a little bit harder. Okay, here we go. Employee. employees. Make sure that that's the right table. Yep, dope. Is that the right way to do it? Is there some tricks to that?
Yeah, one thing that you could do is just like you can have a folder inside a folder if you want. Drag and drop into the left and to the right. And the other thing that you could do is when you go to show all tabs, you could like unmark all of them and just mark the ones that you want and so on. So it would be like maybe an easier way to start because you have so many table tabs there.
Yeah. So I could
But
have just like gone
yeah,
through and like hit a whole bunch of them.
yeah, and but now that it's organized is much better. And the thing is, this menu is organized on a user level, so every user can organize in a way that they feel it's more efficient. Like just like Slack. So in Slack, you can just change the way that you want to organize your channels. Here, you can change the way that you organize your tabs because maybe sometimes you need something from this case like HR, and then you need something from I don't know finance or accounting, and then you can put all together and organize your day if you have something like that. This one, I
Yeah.
think this one has none.
I was
But
just I was just showing how we could maybe like search for the various ones and then we could put them wherever we need, right?
yeah, and in this case, like if we are just showing how to organize kind of stuff, but if you just use the template and install the template, like you didn't need to organize all this. They would just come in a folder, and then you can just use it wherever you want. So we were just
Yeah.
doing this to show you guys like how to organize it if you want to organize anything.
Yeah. Or like if you created a secondary account for yourself and you wanted to set it up differently, because in this case, right, I just jumped into this account, pretty new to this account, and so I haven't set up any, I haven't set up my own workspace, if you will, inside of here. Especially as a super admin, right? For me right now, I have all access to all these tables, and so then I'm just jumping in and okay, now I have my PTO tracker in this section. Everything is clean. Boom, perfect. I do like this idea too, especially when it's tables that you shouldn't use really too much, because in general you should be able to do it from your dashboard. In this case, like
Yeah,
adding employees or
usually I put some tables under some apps because they are related, and and then it's easier to organize. So if I have a dashboard on an app about I don't know revenue, then I have the revenue table just under it because it's faster to just go there, understand the data in detail, and so on.
yeah. So let's look at this template here. To start, you're in your dashboard. Let's see if we got any documentation in here yet. Here's where too you could maybe put the different tables that go with it, if anything, right? Because you could do here's the tables used as of March 2022, and then you could be like employees and oops, pressing the wrong button. Outage maybe. Always use this as soon as you start having like a real process around it and you're going to hand it off, or if you need stuff for yourself that aren't going to be very evident, definitely use the documentation. So in this case here, we want to track pay time off, and this one could be molded like somebody today. One of the reasons I found this one to be interesting, Bruno, is because somebody asked, hey, do you have like an attendance tracker, right? This could be used for attendance perhaps, or give you some ideas about it for employee attendance to work, or from which time to which time they came in to the office, or for working from afar. So again, that's what's so cool about the templates is you can then take something that maybe isn't dedicated for your specific need, but that can be applied to it. So anyway, first thing, if you were to start this today, just dropping right in here, you'd be probably adding employees. So that's where you can add in a name. So let's say it's like Bruno, last name Elon, Bruno Elon. I like that. And 9999 is your phone number today. Title, boss man. And then you could choose your direct manager if there was one. So create. And then that could go to that will end up in here. This is the record. And that was actually pretty cool how you can open the record straight from there. And then you could, this one's a link. That's what I clicked on a little bit earlier, just to go to perhaps another tab or page, or in this case, another website. And this one's going to example.com. So we could then just go in and adjust that for whatever we would need right here. And then edit PTO requests. Let's just see what this does. Takes us to the outage table. Cool. And then here's where this is one of the most important pieces, or like the functionality, right? Is, hey, use this form to request internal pay time off. Like this is the whole point right here, is getting this easy for employees. So if they could just be like, oh, here's my dashboard for it. I'm about to sneeze here. Okay, it went away. Employee, you can choose one. So we got Bruno Elon. And the start date for your pay time off, does it specify here? Pay time off start date, and then the pay time off end date. And in this case, see how it says internal only? You could have people like say if it was approved or not, or you could be using this system to then send it to the manager to have them approve it or not.
Yeah, it could do like a workflow, right, of approval.
Yeah. My expectation is that you would probably not have approval on this one. So let's just actually look at what that would look like before we do this. So let's see, we choose this and next, and then I'm going to remove approved from this. Oh, required though. So in that case, we would just go and adjust the field. Do I have that one still open here? We're just going to change this because I would do this differently. So let's go and edit the field. Wait,
Yeah, the field would be there. However, it would not be on the app, right? It would be just inside the table, so you can manage your process.
Let's see. Yeah. Okay. Well, for now, we'll just leave it there. But if we wanted to create it like that, we would do it a little bit differently. Whoops. Perhaps. So in this case, you're going to choose some dates, and maybe two. I'm doing this on your behalf for the request to go in. So we're doing from April 12th to April 18th. You got some kind of a conference. You got to go to Las Vegas. Submit. Cool. So then that ends up over here as a pending approval because it hasn't been approved yet. And then this is where like a manager could come in who has access to this field and then can approve it or not. So let's actually mark that as approved. Boom, done. Pretty cool. Let's actually go look at that table now, though. So, oops, that's the outage table. This is the employee table. Oh, this one just hasn't been refreshed. I see. We got to refresh them maybe. And make sure we set this as the label for it. Okay, cool. So then here is your request for time off, and it was approved. And oh yeah, you could add in some notes here as well, or a task in this case. That would be pretty cool about the very specific one. All right, you've got some single indicators, right? So upcoming in the next 7 days, PTO coming in the next 30 days, PTO this month, year-to-date PTO requests. So especially if this was an administrator or HR or something like that. The number of requests per employee. So a few people who are taking more pay time off requests than others. And this is really cool too, like just a graph showing the various requests that have come through per month. And then these are all the confirmed ones versus the ones up here that are pending the approval. So only approved ones show here. So we just did this one. Oh, that's cool. So it's going to go from here to there. That's cool. Like a little bit of a ping pong going on here. And then here is where you can have confirmed and unconfirmed PTO kind of showing in a calendar. So in this case, this template, we had dates from these days. Let's see on
You
here.
can click there, and then it will open the record.
Can I click on this?
Okay.
Oh, ah, that's cool. So Kip requested February 22nd to February 24th off, and apparently was going to be back in the office on the 25th. Nice. That's cool too. So in the table, oops, in this table here, it's cool because it also tracks paid time off dates. Now the way that this one was made is by using a formula, which is the end date minus start date plus 1. Pretty cool. And then the day back is the similar, except for it's just taking the end date and adding 1. Pretty nice. It also obviously tells you here as well. So then you could be like, okay, let's look for any unconfirmed PTO that's coming up, and any confirmed PTO that's definitely going to go through. So like the ones in April, like let's say this 12th one here, this should be Bruno's. Boom, there it is. From that date to that date, 7 paid days off, should be back on the 19th. That's really cool. Can we adjust these calendars a little bit? What are some of the options in here? So choosing the reference date would be, okay, so we can choose which date shows in the reference, which table, of course. And then, oh yeah, so this one's saying only the confirmed PTO on the left side here. So the filter inside of this one is only showing records that have a start date, and it's showing those start dates, and then whether it's approved or not. Or actually only showing those that were approved. That's pretty cool. I do like that. That is pretty nice. Have we, never mind. So on these IDs, maybe someday we're going to make it to where you could kind of choose which title comes across here. Like if it was an employee or
probably
something.
because the label there is the
Oh, should we go and
record.
see? So this one could be, can it be set to?
No, not for connected records for now. That's why.
Yeah. So perhaps we could use some other IDs, but right now the idea is right here would be probably for an HR admin. And so they're just going to be going in and ideally probably just looking for the unconfirmed and then just seeing when people are starting paid time off.
And
And then
even
quickly looking at each
for
one.
large companies, sometimes you don't use the name because you could have two
Yeah.
people with the same name, so you use like the badge ID.
Yeah. So this would be like employee ID or
Yeah,
something
I
like that.
remember that like when I worked in a large organization, it was always your badge ID, like not name
Yeah.
or whatever.
Same with like a school or something like that,
Yeah,
right?
for HR related stuff, usually it was this like that. Of course, if you have like only 20 people in your company, like it doesn't really matter, you know everyone. But then probably you don't need like a PTO a lot. Like it would be good to have, but not needed. However, if you have like 100 people or more, then it's harder, especially because you don't know who is John something.
Yeah.
But you may know that, I don't know, ID 113 because, and he's new because of his number. So you have more information maybe on a number than on the actual name. And then if you open the record, you have the name, their picture, anything that may ID the person.
Yeah. That's sweet. Did you have any other? Well, I was just going to say, just from my experience, like in my last company, we had about 50 employees, and definitely trying to, first of all, get a request and then approving them and then keeping track of when and who and where. It's not just their teams that needed to know, which was sometimes depends on the employee, right? It was harder to remember or not, or like keep track of that. And then the finance would need it to make sure that like they were keeping track of pay time off and everything, and then HR needed it, and the executive team needed access to that so they could know how to plan for resources, project managers, and so having this would have been really nice. One thing I would add though, should we try and add something really quick? Like right away, I would be I'm thinking like there would be like a note, even if like sometimes it's not going to be required maybe, but it would be kind of nice to
One
be
thing
like,
that's nice is like you could add once it's approved that the person will receive an email saying that it was approved. Like have a good
yeah.
vacation or something. So you click in approve, it would send an automatic email.
So let's see, would we, okay, let's see. To do that, we'd probably create a trick, and then the trick would be like uh, email for when approved, perhaps, and we would do it on, so when a field is changed, that would actually be the best one, right? Rather than updated, it would be when a field is changed. Next. Okay, so choose the tab, and we're in outage. Choose the field, and we want approved. So when set
The
the
value
value to
is one.
trigger, so 1. What does this look like?
It's
Oh,
your
my
yeah,
last pass.
it's your last time. This it thinks is a password.
My bad. Okay, I haven't used that too often, so nice. Okay, save, and then let's add an action here. And then this is going to do, it could be cool. Oh, that would be really cool to like put these into a Slack channel where it's just like maybe it's like an
It's in
HR
this case
stuff or
it's
something
more
like that.
personal. I think I would send an email because maybe you don't want your entire team to know that you're going to be out. Maybe you do, but usually it's more personal.
Yeah. No, for this, I was just thinking too, if it was a PTO request and then it could just like drop into HR,
Oh yeah,
that
yeah.
would be pretty
For
cool.
the opposite,
Or
but
like
then
the
it's like
executive
then
team
it's
or
a
something.
different automation. It's like when a record is created, send a message to Discord or Slack. Then it's another automation that you could also add there, but it's a different case.
In this case, we would do an email send, and then we'd connect it with your Gmail or the like, and then set the email who it would be from, the name it would be from, and then the to. So here's the main one we would be looking for. And this one could come from the employee. Since it's a connected record, you'd be able to see, well, in this case, you can see who created it, their email. But, okay, I think we can see the employees table from here. Yeah. So that's what's cool about it having a connected record available to you in here is then we could go back to see here's the employee that it shows there, but not only the employee, but their employee ID, their phone number, title. And in this case, we don't have email in there right now, but if we did, we could definitely do that. And in
Yeah, I
fact,
could
that would
just
be
add there as another field, and then it would work.
that'd be a really good thing to have in your employee field, by the way, if anybody's
Yeah.
going to build this one. But what that would be interesting is like you could definitely text it since we have available the number. Probably don't need to email the number, but alas. So one way you would do is choose their email from your employee table, and then you could write in a subject like approved PTO
One thing that
notice.
you could do there actually maybe makes more sense is like
Mm-hmm.
if you're sending an email from like automatic email, no reply email, or like HR at company X, then you don't need to like select a field because if it's always the same sender, I think it works if you just do like this.
Yeah, I did it from the email from, but I was thinking the email to, right?
Yeah, email too. You need to.
You would definitely want to use the one from the
Yeah,
employee record.
yeah,
And then you could CC their manager, perhaps, since
yeah.
those ones would be able to be come through. It would know the manager, and then since that's connected, you could do that. Or a BCC to HR or something like that, so they know that it went through. Especially if you're testing, BCC is really great for that. Until you get 1,000 of them, and then you turn it off. So right here too, we could approve notice for, and then we could do name. Let's see. Oh, it's right. For name, employee name. And then we could do an attachment. Let's say we're just going to do a basic plain text one. So it's be like, hi, and then we're going to use the same one for employee name, comma, your paid time off, your PTO has been approved for, let's just do it like a date, for the dates. But let us do that. That'd be really cool, right? Okay, so, oops, I had it on employee. So in this case, we're going to be looking for those dates. I want start date and end date. Yeah, see, look at that. That's cool that it shows like the most recent one. Whoops, zooming in a little too far. It shows the start date and end date of the one that we had chose for you just barely. So we do start date, and then we could do 2, and then end date. Perfect. And then we would save that. Something like that. Hey, I like that. Anything else we would do on that? Or
Yeah,
people
I think
might
that's
want to see?
a good example. Like next time we could have like a test account for email, and then we can actually send it just to show how easy it is. But
Yeah.
this is a pretty simple and useful template if you have like many employees to manage. Or
Another thing too could be when we create the record, have it to where it assigns a task to HR
yeah.
or a specific person or their manager. That would be pretty cool. That wouldn't be very hard to set up either.
Yeah, it can go really far, like just building automations, connecting different records, adding more fields, and so on. So yeah, anything else that you want to share with us today, Dana, or tomorrow we come back with more templates?
Yeah, we'll definitely come back tomorrow with some more templates, or at least one. And one of the questions, I had a couple of questions if you have a little bit of time. You got a little
Yeah.
bit? So someone kind of asked on the lines of, if you have a single selection and then you started to have like 20, let's say, things in the drop down,
Mm-hmm.
at what point should you really just be making it into a connected record? Like it's easy, it's really easy to make a single selection, and then at a certain point though, maybe you should have made it a connected record instead. What is kind of your thoughts on when you would choose to do one or the other?
Yeah, that's an interesting problem, and usually it happens when you start to build. When the process is really simple, you start with like a single selection. And for people that don't know, this field is basically like when you select, for example, I don't know, imagine if in the beginning you have like 3 managers, and then you only have the name of the managers. And for a really simple process, you could just have a drop down menu and select one of them. However, at some point, for example, you want to do an automation that sends an email for the specific manager. And with a single selection field, you cannot do this. Then
Hmm.
you need information inside the information. It's always the point where you need to transform it into actually a connected table. You could from the first day like already have like a connected table. It would be helpful. You don't need to do that later. But usually in the beginning it's pretty simple. You don't need like lots of tables and so on. But when you need to do something that's a little bit more complex, like setting automation, or if you want to even track all the data that's connected with that specific manager, so all the requests connected with that manager and so on. And yeah, basically, usually that's the thing that you should the moment that you should just change from like a single selection to a connect record. However, that's not always the case. Sometimes it will be a single selection forever. For example, when it's like a state, stage, or and this kind of stuff, like you don't need to change it to a table. It doesn't make any sense. Like it would only make sense if the stage had specific information about that stage, and then you want to do some automation, but then you lose the ability to just create like a workflow. So when you need a workflow, usually you use a single selection.
Yeah. So I think if you're ever using like nouns, or like if you imagine yourself using more than 10 or 20 or something around there, or if it's something like in that realm, right? Like really, one thing I was thinking about is if it's going to be too obnoxious to use in a Kanban view, right? That's one of the great uses of a single selection, and maybe one reason to not always, use a connected record is because you would be able to be able to view the Kanban view. So, example, like what you were saying, the phases or the stages of projects or something, you know, open, closed, qualified, whatever. If you're going to use the Kanban view, that would be great. But if you imagine you're going to have too many for a Kanban view, maybe it should be a connected record.
Yeah.
That's interesting. Another question was, and we kind of asked this a little bit yesterday, it was like, how many records can you have in each table? And we kind of know that is very large, a lot, basically infinite.
Yeah, there's no actual limit there. Like we don't limit an account on the number of records per table. So you
So then
can
the,
manage as
the
you want.
follow-up question to that would be, um, does that large amount of data affect the performance when you're using an ingester?
Now the way that we build, it loads in different stages. So you will only need that specific record that's really down on your table. When you do like a search for a specific information or something like this, so it doesn't really change.
So yeah, I've used some pretty big tables in Gesture, and found that not to be a huge deal.
Yeah,
I
of course,
saw,
if you have like two records, it will be a little bit faster, but it's only the time between loading like pages inside the table.
another question then that I kind of have. I haven't seen anybody do more than like 40 columns. About there is probably like where I've seen. Is there a limit to the number of columns, or I mean, like an issue with usability comes pretty quickly, but then again, if no one's really using the table and it's more automatic anyway, do you have
Yeah,
some stuff to say about
the
that?
thing is, if you have 40 columns, usually you're not using the relational database as you should. Like
Mm,
you're just using it as a spreadsheet, which is never ideal because
mm,
if you have 40 columns, it's pretty rare the cases where you actually need 40 columns for a specific kind of data. So probably what you need to do is just go back to your data and try to understand where actually should be a connected record instead, like
mm.
sometimes like 5 columns actually should be just one connected record, and then you are down to, I don't know, 34, 35.
In
And
this case, it was like a survey. So like it kind of made sense to me that it would be, each answer to the question in the survey was another column, but
it depends. If you're doing a survey, you can also use connected records for that.
yeah. Hmm.
It's also a possibility. It doesn't limit you there.
But I don't think we have a specific cap to the number of columns. Would that be accurate, Adjuster?
No, there is not really a number right now that we limit or anything like this. However, it's not ideal if you have like lots of columns for your process.
Yeah. It just becomes unmanageable as well. It's like in the ones we were just doing. Like I was already, I will like there wasn't really that much going on. I could have like shrunk down the columns a little bit to make it more viewable. But you're already running into like I got to scroll left and right? So yeah. I saw like Google Sheets, they updated their total number of cells that you could put into one. And I tested out a little bit. You could do, you used to be able to do 5 million cells, and now you could do 10 million.
Mm.
But at like 1.5 million already, it already definitely slows down. And so that's where Gesture not only can have over 10 million cells, if you would like to see it like that. But there's no limit to the number of cells total and also the number of records per table, right?
Yeah,
And it's
because
not going to slow down like the
yeah,
same way.
it's one of the reasons why is because spreadsheet is a different product than a database.
Yeah.
Sometimes people use for this solving like similar problems, but they are completely different technologies in a way, and then it impacts the way that it scales. Um, and that's why like when you have a huge amount of data, usually you are on a database and not on a spreadsheet. That's one
Yeah.
of the
I think
reasons.
it's just,
But you also like have data reliability and other stuff as well. It's important for your process.
yeah, that's one thing that draws me
Even
to
more important
Gesture
than scale sometimes.
is making it easier to make that transition from a spreadsheet, the broken scalability of one to then being able to put in all the same data and then being able to have it dynamic and actionable and reliable. Man, super dope. Well, I think that that's pretty much what I've got for you today, unless you got something else to share. I saw we had a few more new templates coming through, so it looks like we're being pretty consistent on that. Some new features rolling out.
Yeah, today we had a new feature, but it's more like for low code automations. It's related to the tag field, and probably will also bring something similar to the interface as well.
Cool. I think that's what I have today.
So see you tomorrow then. Bye.